USDA has something called flash sales, and these are sales that they'll report in the mornings at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Well, this morning, USDA announcing flash sales of corn and soybeans. Let's start with the corn market and see if we're reacting, and we're not really. So again, probably already built into the trade. Those who are trading it have already done so. The report doesn't necessarily mean that it happened overnight. It's just being reported by USDA at this point. 11.3 million bushels of corn to Mexico. And that ties back in with what we'll talk about in our second segment, which is livestock, and i.e. the cattle market. So a corn right now is in the red, 445 1/4, down 3 1/2. How about soybeans? You know, beans have been higher the last 3 sessions, and we're pulling back. We're off 6 3/4, 1142 1/2. By the way, 2 flash sales reported by USDA. Unknown destinations getting 4.4 million bushels, and then 4.85 million bushels to China? Yeah, China. Soy meal contracts were lower across the board. Bean oil starting the day in the red, 4th straight session here. Here's the wheat market, and wheat down 4 1/2, 608 1/4. Hard red is down a nickel at 647 1/2, and we'll use that to transition to our next guest. He's in Dodge City, Kansas. Brady Huck, EmpowerAg Trading. All right, Brady, I ended there with hard red simply because I've got a feeling you've got combines rolling.
There's a lot of combines running around the country right now, Tony, so good time of year for sure.
All right. And again, we saw that run up in the wheat market, and then it pulled back since then. But what's on your radar here when we're looking at these row crops?
Right. Yeah. Well, with the combines rolling, we got wheat harvest out there, and that's always a fun time of year, getting lots of harvest pictures of pretty sunsets. You can't beat a Kansas sunset when the wheat fields are rolling. Wheat, though, has had a nice little week here on the week. KC wheat's up about 13 cents versus last week. So we're down on the day and a little bit of red on the screen today. But across the board, when we look at all the grains, all the row crops, we've had a little bit of stability come into this market, and just trying to find a base. A lot of selling. Good to see the export flashes like you talked about, and demand come in and kick in. That's the job of these markets. When prices get lower, we want to see demand kick in, and when prices go higher, we typically see demand rationing. So the market's doing the market's job. We don't always like the price action that we see, but a decent week here when we look at the week as a whole to try to find some stability in these markets, Tony.
Yeah, there's the 5-day look at hard red, and you know, just looking at how some of the other major crops have performed over the past 5 days. Beans in positive territory, gaining 9 cents over the past 5 sessions. And then we've got corn over here. It's up 6 cents over the past 5 days. Again, we can kind of get sucked into these lower prices, can't we, Brady? And forget that, well, we have been gaining some ground.
Right. Yeah. And the day-to-day price action, that shouldn't dictate, your whole narrative for what's happening in this grain market right now. I mean, the market can change fast in a day, but we need to look at the big picture and, what's happened over the week, what's happened over the past course of the month, and what are the major surprises that could lie ahead. The June 21st is Sunday. That's the official kickoff of summer. Summer's going to do summer things to these markets. Right now, the weather's non-threatening. It's mostly bearish for grains. There's probably some spots that are a little bit too wet. There's still spots that are too dry, but those areas look like they're going to get some relief here over the coming days. And with the 3-day weekend ahead, Tony, weather models can change fast on us. We've got an important couple weeks coming up in this market. We may chop around a bit, but that could just be setting the stage for an explosive move one way or another as we wrap up the end of the month, Tony.
All right, so I started with this flash sale of corn to Mexico and said it ties into our second segment, which is livestock. And we'll pick that conversation up with Brady Huck next on Market Day Report. All right, let's talk livestock. We'll start with cattle, and the live cattle market is in the red. Now, we finished the session yesterday lower, 247.62 on the August. We're down $1.37 as we open up the gate. Speaking of opening up the gate, can feeders move higher for the fourth straight day? Right now, they're in the red at 365.65. It's $1.77 lower on the August. And then we have hogs. Hogs were higher yesterday, pull back here, down 22 cents, 96.27. We get a report this afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern from USDA Cattle on Feed Report. Thoughts there, Brady Huck?
Oh, it's that time of year. It's Thursday. Normally we get this report on Friday, but we'll get that report here this afternoon. And with a 3-day weekend, that likely softens the blow of any data that we get here. You just have a lot of time for the market to digest these numbers, see where we go. But the market's looking for placements to be about 6% lower. That could be where the surprise lies, though. Feeder cattle auction data suggests that maybe that's not quite as low as some of the trades guessing there. But we'll see what gets printed this afternoon. The cattle market has had pretty strong retracement of our May sell-off. We've got October feeders about $10 off the low that they printed and retracing quite a bit of those losses. But giving a little bit back today as we position ahead of that report. Yeah, big move. Contract high isn't too far away from us, so we'll see what the next week brings. A lot of attention going to be given to what gets printed here this afternoon, but the 3-day weekend could soften the blow, Tony.
Okay, and again, I started the conversation, flash sale corn to Mexico, cattle on feed report. What ties all this together? And it's the fact we still have a closed border with Mexico, and those feeders are not just sitting there waiting to come across. Just like here in the U.S., when they're ready, right?
Right. Yep. You got to feed them. You got to feed them every day. And Mexico buying some corn from us, a sign that maybe they're feeding a little bit more cattle down there, and a change of the dynamics in the cattle market as you tighten borders, close doors. That forces people to change what they're doing and how they do things. So big factor going forward.
Yeah, I'm going out on a limb here. I don't have good empirical evidence of this, but plenty of rumors out there, and just talking with others in the industry, they're building their feeding industry and their harvesting capacity as well. If they're not sending them here, they're going to process there, and we're going to end up with the end result, the cuts coming in to the U.S. So something to keep in mind. And again, maybe it would help with empirical evidence. So there's your homework for the weekend, Brady.
Go do some studying up. I will, Tony.
All right. By the way, Brady has a 4-year-old celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday to her. Brady Huck, EmpowerAg Trading.